Welcome to New Beginnings with Karen Delk, where we celebrate the creativity, courage, and wisdom of people creating change. We highlight those who chart new paths, make new life and career choices, and face turning points. We explore lessons that accompany changes, both welcome and unwelcome. New Beginnings covers topics from the worlds of business, education, health, and the arts. Our guests and the stories we share inspire viewers to make positive changes within their own lives and communities. Now here is our host, Karen Delk.
Welcome to New Beginnings, and I am so pleased to have two returning guests, Rebecca Corbin, who is president of the National Association of Community Colleges and Entrepreneurship, and Janice Sellinger, who is a documentarian. And together, they have done a part two, as they promised they would, going to Kentucky to interview former coal miners who are reinventing and re-engineering for a new career. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to have you back. And as I was saying before we started, the part one segment was picked up by the Patrick Henry University, and they so loved the work that you did that they wanted to get the clip to share with their president. So we were quite thrilled at the station to get the call and to do the outreach so that that work can be given to them, and they were going to put it on their website. So I can't wait to see what happens with this show. But
great.
George, the station manager, called me and he said, "Great news." He said, "People in Appalachia have seen the show and they want the clip." And I said, "That's great."
It's wonderful.
So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing since we last met, and what's new in the hopper.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting us back. Janice and I love working together and love working on these projects. So you're right, it does have that ripple effect, and it's the power of stories, to really transform minds and communities. So since we were here the last time, we were working closely with the Appalachian Regional Commission on some goals, and they thought it was very important and supported our work in telling the story of how community colleges in the Kentucky region are responding to the coal layoffs. So I called Janice and I said, if we're going to do this, we have to do it quickly, but do it very meaningfully. And I think we got such good response on the first one. So really, the story is about Big Sandy Community College, which is in the Prestonsburg, Pikeville area of Kentucky. And they have a new president there, and he really has seized the entrepreneurial spirit and is working very diligently, not only with the existing community, but laid off coal miners to try to train them for jobs which are high paying that can sustain families, but also open up a variety of careers. So some of them are coders, some of them are training to be truck drivers, some of them are following traditional academic paths. So Janice captured the story, and I think it really resonates. It resonates globally, but certainly here in New Jersey, where in communities people face challenges, as you know. So it's really inspirational. So thanks for inviting us back.
Yeah, and we'll be able to show a clip later. Janice, what did you find in terms of the welcoming of the community? I'm not going to make this political, but obviously the whole notion of coal versus sustainable energy, clean energy, is part of the election cycle. But how are people feeling about this transition in terms of what you documented?
Well, when we did it and then we started, hearing more in the news, we thought, wow, we're really very timely. But, I don't think that they're necessarily thinking about it politically where we were. They were thinking about it for the community. And so we tried to basically paint the picture of what the economics and what the area was like. Pikeville, there are a lot of out-of-work coal miners, and we actually captured a few just on the street walking around. And, it's an interesting area because it's the home of the Hatfield and McCoy feud. So it has a lot of history. that we show the cut through, we show a number of the things in that area and what they did to try to make the area work, because there was flooding downtown and they did this cut through to move the water out so that would not be the case. So it's an interesting opportunity at the college, because what the president is doing is clearly focusing on what are we going to do with the out-of-work coal miners and building this whole, broadband, new center there. But they're also working on other entrepreneurial activities, and we showed a little bit of it. We were in an area where they're training people to be beauticians, and the thought is, well, is a beautician really an entrepreneur? But if they open up their own shop, they certainly are. And we had a chance to meet a woman who it was her dream to be able to do that, and she did, thanks to that. And another young woman who was working, in sort of lower paying jobs, who really wanted to get an education to do something else, and she always wanted to help people, and she became a nurse. Wonderful. So, so it shows that there are other things that the community colleges are doing, to be entrepreneurial. And I think we also showed, as Becky was saying, it's not just trying to have them become coders, but trying to offer opportunities and training so they can look at other ways to make a living.
Of course.
With coal, after coal.
Right. I wonder, is there a recognition, and you talked about, fulfilling a dream. Mining coal is a dangerous job. And we already know that there are lung cancer, whether they accept that or not, but there's certainly a linkage. So the things that you're talking about, sure, there may be some hazards, but being a beautician, a coder, this is above ground work.
Right. Safe.
Is there are they lamenting that they're not going to be coal miners? Are they resentful because that's what you hear? Or are they embracing, hey, I'm going to be above ground. I could do things in daylight. I could be safer. I could be healthier. My family won't have to worry if, do you know what I'm saying? I mean, is there a recognition of that, or is it more resentment?
Well, I think, and I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about this, I think it's that mindset shift. I know with some of the folks that we've interacted with, that's all they've ever known. They come from families of coal miners. Generations, and they grow up and they're not thinking that they have options. So there are certainly ones, and there's a number of really big successes that came out of, Big Sandy. But, some of the people tried something initially first. I know you interviewed one man who thought he wanted to be a truck driver, but then he didn't like being away from home that often. So that exploration process, I think many of us go through in the course of our lives. They don't have that tradition of doing it. So I've seen some people, really embrace it. I think the college has a very welcoming, supportive environment. And as Janice said, there's a lot of different options. You don't have to be a coder. You can do a number of different things, but just getting some skills around it. And of course, there's always folks that, resist change in every situation. So, but I know you got close to, I think, talking with some of them.
Well, we spent some time at BitSource, which is a company that was founded by a gentleman, Rusty Justice, who also was involved in coal for many, many years. And he decided that he was looking at what was going on in the industry, and he decided something else had to happen. And he came up with this idea of doing coding websites and all of this. And, people at first, I think, looked at him like, coal miners doing this? But, he saw skills in the people. And, he ran a radio ad and had a tremendous response to the radio ad. Looking for people that were, basically out of work coal miners, because he knew that they had the right temperament and could apply the skills that they had to this type of work. And actually what he's been doing, the problem with doing these videos is you never have enough time to be able to tell as much of the story as you want to tell.
Right.
But, he's been featured in newspapers and on NPR. They did a radio interview with him. And so, what he's doing, I think, is great. Unfortunately, he doesn't employ hundreds of people yet.
Right.
But, maybe he will, because it's been successful, and it may be a model that others, can build upon.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a perfect segue. as we talked once before, what you're doing in community colleges to help people have opportunity to shift from what they've always known to realizing that maybe I could do my dream job, I think is so powerful. It just so happens last Sunday, I met the president of Mercer County Community College.
Oh, okay.
And she was talking about attracting more people, how she's getting people who are choosing community college out of high school, you know, particularly if they don't know what they want to do. And their parents are saying, you know what, for $40 or $50 or $60,000, I'd rather pay what a community college offers for you to figure that out so that the last 2 years can be meaningful, and then, you know, not that we're wasting money, but, you know, we're being cost efficient. But she also said that she's attracting a number of adults who are trying to re-engineer and refigure out what they want to do. And they could be people who have retired that are not ready to kind of put their feet up on the desk. They could be people who were let go, they're laid off. And I'm wondering, is that what you're continuing to see? Not just in Kentucky, but because I know you have the oversight across the country.
Right. Well, I'm so glad that you brought that up. There's a couple things that come to mind. I was yesterday at the Community College of Philadelphia meeting with President Guy Generals and his staff, and they're doing some amazing work just right across the river here with the Goldman Sachs program. And I don't know if you know that much about that, but they're creating a number of very robust, successful businesses by following a very disciplined practice. And they're engaging with the city of Philadelphia in terms of leveraging city resources. So it's an amazing model, similar, it sounds like the mindset that's going on at Mercer. And next week, I'll have the chance to meet with the new president of Camden County College, President Don Borden. So he starts his job July 1st. So I'm thrilled. I got in the first week.
Exactly.
But Camden, you know, like you said, is an area that, you know, has some tremendous, you know, beautiful natural resources they report about on the news, but it has some tremendous problems.
Absolutely.
So looking at urban environments, we were speaking with Dr. Generals about that yesterday, and intend to speak with the new president of Camden about how can we take what we're doing in rural areas and really apply some of that in urban areas. There's a lot of similarities, believe it or not, between the two. The other thing I wanted to point out, we've have ongoing conversations with the AARP Foundation, and we're really excited to announce that in mid-July there's going to be a series of grants that are available. Community colleges and organizations can apply for them, and it's about training the non-traditional worker and doing that outreach. So they're smaller grants in the form of $10,000 to $15,000, but I'm really hoping that a lot of the community colleges in New Jersey and surrounding states apply for those, because that's been some of the things that Janice has captured in her documentary, but a lot of the success that we've had in giving communities and community colleges small amounts of money, but they spark ideas, and sometimes you don't need $1 million, but if you have $10,000 or $15,000, you have enough money, you can convene a group, you might be able to buy a little bit of equipment and things like that. So certainly there's a lot going on in this region, and we expect that relationship with the AARP Foundation to grow. We're going to meet with them in DC later this summer to talk about collaboration. So what you're hearing is exactly what we're hearing on the national front. So it's exciting.
Great. And so the AARP, is this at the national level, or this is the local New Jersey chapter?
This is the national. The AARP Foundation is a 501c3 part of AARP itself. I think does a lot of lobbying and things like that, and DC provides a lot of service. So the foundation's mission is really to support older, non-traditional people, but what they're seeing is that somebody may get a buyout or have an early retirement at age 50 or 55, and we all know we could, the three of us could live into our 90s or
Absolutely.
beyond. So, you have people with really lots of skills, and how do they apply those? But one of the things that I've learned in discussions with the AARP Foundation is that they want to really teach people how to be very careful and thoughtful in terms of, from thought to prototyping to launch, and make sure that sort of their investment strategies, they're not putting their retirement at risk or their homes at risk. And with some of the changing laws, it's becoming easier to use, platforms like Kickstarter and others. You don't need to have $1 million to invest in a business. So it's an exciting time, and all those resources are available to New Jersey. So that's part of the mission that Janice and I are on, is to make sure that our community colleges in this state and beyond know about those resources and really get on board. And a lot of them are. Ocean County College is doing some incredible work within their own ecosystem. So we're seeing some really good things happening.
Wonderful. Well, one of the things you said sparked an idea that may be a next documentary, which is taking the intergenerations, the wisdom of these mature professionals, regardless of whether they were in the office or on the plant floor, but their skills and their knowledge, and pairing that with this younger generation, and see what happens. I'm sure some of that came up in what you did in Kentucky, but I think that obviously could be replicated elsewhere, because to your point, there are people who have skills and knowledge that can transfer those skills, that can apply them, and you have youth who are eager, maybe not as knowledgeable, but filled with ideas. And seems like a great synergy that could happen. I don't know what all the, I'm sure there's some obstacles, but
but there always are.
But there are opportunities as well. So,
and I think what Becky does is she's working with some really innovative college presidents. And I think part of it is the enthusiasm that you're seeing on the ground in the communities, and look forward to having a chance to work with more of them to tell the compelling stories about what they're doing in this area.
Absolutely.
Because what's interesting that I've found, we have about 300 community college presidents engaged with NACCE. Certainly some of them are really engaged and some less so. But what I find is they're very, well-educated and thoughtful people, but they're willing to get down in the weeds and work right alongside of everybody else to get things done. And one of the things that we've been working on with the NACCE board is really getting the message out about what is the value of entrepreneurship as a leadership strategy for presidents. So we convened an interview with a magazine. It was a group interview. The editor-in-chief had suggested it. So we had 3 different community college presidents, a retired one, a brand new one, and one that had served for a while, talking very candidly about what's the value, what's the risk, and what's the reward. And it was just very powerful. So we're going to be releasing some of that information in the fall, and just really, our focus is not just the early adopter presidents, but it's those who might be in the middle and aren't really sure. And we find by connecting them with one another, you build this network of like-minded peers where you can strengthen each other and share ideas, and everybody benefits. The community, the coal miners, the folks in New Jersey, it doesn't matter. So
Absolutely. And I do want to show the clip. We've talked a little bit about, what you documented and some of the stories. So now would be a perfect time to show that clip.
Great. I'm Rebecca Corbin, President and CEO of the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship, NACCE. Our mission is to promote entrepreneurship across the country on community college campuses. We're working with community colleges like Big Sandy in Kentucky to promote economic vitality.
Pikeville is a mountainous area in eastern Kentucky, steeped in history and tourism.
The Hatfield-McCoy feud took place nearly exclusively here in Pike County and in eastern Kentucky, and it changed this region for nearly a century. Our city is located in a floodplain and had flooded constantly, about every 20 years. So for this community to develop and flourish, we had to get the river out of the city.
The entrepreneurial solution in the 1970s was the cut-through, an engineering wonder that diverted the river, took the railroad and the highway out of the city, and allowed for industry and tourism to flourish. Today, however, Pikeville and the surrounding communities are experiencing an economic crisis that is severely impacting the quality of life in this region.
The downturn in the coal industry has sucked the life out of this region like a vacuum. It sucked hope, it sucked promise, it sucked possibility out of here.
Currently, the economy is in pretty dire straits. Many jobs are being lost, and as those jobs are being lost, there's just nowhere for those families to replace that income. Those men, mostly men that work in the mines, were earning close to $100,000 or more, and now we've had 10,000 of those jobs lost.
As the cut-through solved the problem of flooding in the 1970s, many believe that an emphasis on entrepreneurial thinking and broadband technology will help to solve today's economic problems.
As I see and what we're talking about, the special needs would lie between the youth and the retired.
Rusty Justice is the co-owner of BitSource, a web solution development company. He spent his career in the coal industry and knew that the unemployed coal miners he worked with in the mines could apply their skills elsewhere.
All the men and women we'd worked with over our careers were really high-tech workers that just kind of got dirty in their jobs, but they had the skills necessary to transition into a new line of work.
Big Sandy Community and Technical College is building Kentucky's first broadband technology center. President Stevenson thinks it will be the key to creating new career paths for laid-off workers.
We're building a $5 million advanced technology center, the only one of its kind, with fiber to desk in Pikeville, Kentucky, home of the Hatfields and the McCoys. So we're becoming a place that does fast-track training for high-speed jobs.
President Stevenson is gathering key partners like Charles Sexton of One East Kentucky to help diversify the economy, providing office space and collaboration.
This whole speaking about broadband, the biggest thing that we can do with the broadband, in addition to providing a utility that's necessary, is we're opening up the ability for folks to have that entrepreneurial innovation.
A desire to stay in eastern Kentucky led laid-off coal miner Charles Scarberry to Big Sandy Community and Technical College.
I took the commercial truck driving program, and after completion of that, I found out that that was going to take me away from home. You know, I would be gone for at least a week, 2 weeks at a time, and decided that that's not the career path that I wanted to go in. So I looked to further my education and found the fiber optic program.
These classes are really good because they teach them how to be like, you can work for the power company, telephone company, different manufacturing jobs, railroad. It's not just tied down to one particular, job or career path.
We can be a technology economy here in the mountains, that our displaced workers aren't just quote unquote blue collar workers, that they can work in that tech industry.
Prestonburg's former mountaintop strip mine is now a popular golf course.
We're trying to develop an area of destination, not just an area to come through.
A Dawkins Rails to Trails project with tunnels is designed to give new life to former rail lines that transported lumber and coal.
It will require shuttle services, bike repair shops, more eating establishments and shopping establishments to accommodate all of the tourists that are expected to visit the region as a result.
Big Sandy Community and Technical College offers students a variety of entrepreneurial opportunities and career paths.
Some folks that we have at our college that are entrepreneurs already, and maybe just they never thought to call themselves an entrepreneur, so to speak. We have a cosmetology department who graduates entrepreneurs every year. They are self-employed women who have great jobs and great careers.
Allison Nicole Napier waited until her kids were grown to pursue her dream of owning a hair salon.
Since I've been a little girl, I always wanted to do hair, open my own business up. This has been probably one of the best things that has ever happened to me. So I'm just trying to work at it and trying to make the best of it. It's been awesome.
Big Sandy Community and Technical College gave Maria Wilson a chance to go from making minimum wage to an occupation where she could support herself and her child.
I went from working at the grocery store to being a nurse because I wanted to help people. I was sick as a child. My grandmother was really sick. She was in and out of the hospital. I got to watch the nurses kind of come and go out of her room, out of my room, and I wanted to be that positive person. I wanted to be that person that actually got to help people and make a difference in their life.
This region is filled with a lot of creative, innovative people. Some might look at Eastern Kentucky as being a place of hillbillies, but we're proud of that. We're proud of our work ethic. We're proud of our honesty. We're proud of our strong family values. And for me, that makes a wonderful, wonderful employee. It makes wonderful people trainable to do great things in this region.
The end game for the college, from my perspective, is producing a very effective student that can not only leave this college with an education, a career, they can also go out and create a job for themselves.
So if our institution can be a catalyst, if we can be a stimulus, if we can be a motivator into the big picture of transforming this region, then we feel like that we have accomplished our mission.
This video was made possible through support from the Appalachian Regional Commission. For more information about NACCE, visit us online at nacce.com.
That was amazing. I
was a
really
fun conversation.
enjoyed the, what you filmed. And tell us, what was the most compelling story for you, Janice?
It's pretty hard to get to one that's the most compelling story, because I think each of the people we talked to, just the fact that they were able to, the woman who opened her own beauty shop. What a thing to be able to, have your dream, and the young woman that wanted to become a nurse, and, just the former coal miners, to see what BitSource is doing. I think it was all very interesting. And I think for me, it was seeing a different part of the country that I'd never been to before. And, understanding that it was a community that was so reliant on coal. And the fact that people had to start thinking differently, and they had to think more in an entrepreneurial fashion. And what, Big Sandy is going to be able to do to help them do that. And the fact that there, is, new president there, as Becky said, who is interested in making that happen. So I think that there's, I think we'll be hearing a lot more from Prestonburg and Pikeville, Kentucky, and maybe seeing some other really exciting new businesses crop up there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Are there plans to do a follow-up at some point?
We'd like to. In fact, that's what we're talking about, is getting the funding to do it. And I'll tell you the interesting thing in terms of documentaries, which is really Janice's expertise, is that you sort of look at the story over time. And the coal documentary that you were kind enough to bring us on to talk about, we showed that a couple of weeks ago at the Deshpande Symposium in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is going through its own kind of a renaissance, different part of the country, but the message really resonated. And sometimes it takes, hopefully it won't take a generation, but it'll take 5 or 10 years, and you'll start to see some of the transformation. Slowly, it's like a garden. A lot of the root structure gets built underneath.
Well, I just thank you both for returning and bringing this powerful documentary and the work that you're doing to communicate what's available and to change people's lives, because that's really what you're doing. So thank you again, Rebecca and Janice, and thank you for tuning in to New Beginnings.